We only invited you because you paid for it, my son said at my granddaughter's wedding reception, loud enough for the entire ballroom to hear. A few people chuckled awkwardly. Someone dropped a fork. And I just stood there holding my champagne glass while the string quartet continued playing as if nothing had happened. I did not cry. I did not raise my voice. I only smiled, adjusted the sleeve of my navy blue dress, and learned what my family thought I was worth. I'm glad you're here. Follow my story until the end, and tell me where you're watching from, because I never imagined my story would travel farther than that ballroom in Charleston. The wedding was held at the Grand Marlowe Hotel, one of those old Southern venues where every hallway smelled faintly of lemon polish, gardenias, and money. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings, so high they made everyone beneath them look smaller. White roses climbed the marble staircase. Gold candles flickered on tables covered with imported linen. The ballroom looked like something from a magazine. Every detail was beautiful. Every detail had been paid for by me. I arrived almost an hour early because I wanted to see the room before the guests came in. At 68, I move slower than I used to, and I like having time to gather myself. I had spent 3 weeks looking for the right dress because Sophia once told me navy made me look elegant. That was years ago, when she still called me Grandma Vivi and ran barefoot through my kitchen after school. Back then, she used to sit at my table cutting wedding dresses out of magazines while eating chocolate chip cookies. One day, she told me, you're going to help me plan everything. I remembered that. I remembered everything. Near the entrance, a young event coordinator smiled at me. Mrs. Carter? We have your seating card right here. Thank you, dear. The envelope was cream-colored, thick, expensive. The kind Olivia insisted on because ordinary paper, apparently, was too embarrassing for a wedding of this scale. I opened it carefully. For several seconds, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Family sponsor. The one who paid for everything. Not grandmother of the bride. Not Vivian Carter. Not family. Just the sponsor. The girl behind the table shifted on her heels. I'm sure it's just part of the theme, she whispered. Theme. That was the word she used. I slipped the card into my purse before anyone else could see it. But someone already had. Olivia stood near the champagne tower in a silver gown that shimmered whenever she moved. Her hand rested lightly on Daniel's arm while she laughed with a group of guests from the country club. When her eyes met mine, she smiled too quickly. Not warmly. Carefully. Like a woman checking whether a cruel joke had landed. Daniel came over a moment later, holding 2 glasses of bourbon. Mom, he said, grinning. You made it. Made it. As if I were a distant aunt from Ohio instead of the woman who had emptied part of her retirement savings so his daughter could have this wedding. I kissed his cheek anyway. Everything looks beautiful, I said. Well, he laughed, taking a sip. It should. You paid for all of it. The men beside him chuckled. I forced a small smile. Then Daniel leaned closer. Not enough to be private. Just enough to make it worse. Come on, Mom. We only invited you because you paid for it. More laughter followed. Not cruel laughter. That would have been easier. It was polite laughter. The kind people use when they do not want to make things uncomfortable. The kind that lets betrayal pass as humor. My fingers tightened around the stem of my champagne glass. For 1 second, I thought about all the things I could say. I could remind Daniel about the nights I worked double shifts after his father died, so he could finish college without loans. I could remind him who covered his mortgage after his first business failed, who paid Sophia's private school tuition when he said cash flow was tight, who sold Richard's old watch last winter because Olivia said the wedding deposit had to be paid by Friday. But I did not say any of that. I only looked at my son and said, I see. That seemed to disappoint Olivia. I think she wanted tears. Or anger. Something dramatic enough to prove the story she had been telling about me for years. That I was too sensitive. Too emotional. Too old-fashioned. Too attached. But age teaches a woman another kind of strength. Sometimes silence makes people reveal more than shouting ever could. Daniel drifted back toward the bar. Olivia stayed where she was, watching me over the rim of her champagne flute. Across the ballroom, Sophia posed for photographs beneath a canopy of white orchids. Her gown was custom-made, fitted with tiny pearl buttons down the back. I knew, because I had paid the final invoice myself. She looked radiant, happy, completely unaware that the woman who helped build this entire evening had just been seated near the kitchen doors. Table 17. I found it tucked beside the service entrance, where waiters passed in and out carrying trays and whispering into headsets. The chair beside me was empty. So was the one across from me. At first, I thought there had been a mistake. Then I saw the placement cards.
No mistake.
Just a decision. I sat down slowly, placed my purse in my lap, and removed Richard's wedding band from the small velvet case I carried with me. After he died, I began wearing it on a chain or keeping it close when I needed courage. That evening, I held it in my palm beneath the tablecloth. Richard used to tell me, "One day, Vivian, people will show you exactly who they are. The hard part is believing them." That night, inside the most expensive room I had ever paid for, I finally did. Dinner service began with the kind of precision Olivia loved. Waiters in black jackets moved between the tables carrying plates of filet mignon, roasted potatoes, asparagus, and tiny dishes of whipped butter shaped like roses. The kitchen doors swung open every few seconds behind me, releasing bursts of heat and garlic into the air. Apparently, that was where Olivia thought I belonged. Near the service entrance.
Close enough to pay.
Far enough not to be seen. I folded my napkin across my lap and tried to breathe normally. Across the ballroom, Daniel laughed beneath the chandeliers, his tuxedo perfectly tailored. The silver cufflinks at his wrists caught the light. Richard's cufflinks. Daniel had taken them from the dresser after the funeral, without asking. I had noticed many
things and said nothing.
Olivia moved from table to table, like she owned the hotel itself. She kissed cheeks, touched shoulders, and lowered her voice just enough to make every sentence sound important. The floral installation alone was nearly 12,000, I heard her say. But obviously, we wanted everything elegant. Elegant. Luxury. Tasteful. Those words had become very important to Olivia over the years. There had been a time when she called me Vivian with careful politeness. Then Mom, but only in public. Then, slowly, she stopped using a name at all. She would say, "Could you help with Sophia's tuition? Or would you mind covering this deposit?" Or, "Daniel doesn't want to ask, but things are tight." Always soft. Always reasonable. Always urgent.
And I gave.
Because Sophia was my granddaughter. Because Daniel was my son. Because after Richard died, I feared money was the only language they still understood from me. A young waiter stopped beside me.
Ciambere, Mom?
I looked at the tray. "Compliments of the groom's family," he said. I almost laughed. The groom's family. As if I were not sitting right there. As if my money could be invited into the room more warmly than I was. "No, thank you," I said. He nodded and moved on. The band played something slow and pretty. The kind of music meant to make people nostalgic even if they had nothing to be nostalgic about. I watched Sophia dance with her new husband. She looked so young from where I sat. So delicate. For a moment, I saw her at 7 years old, sleeping in my guest room during thunderstorms because she said my house felt safe. I saw her at my kitchen counter, flour on her nose, helping me make biscuits on Sunday mornings while Daniel slept upstairs after another late night. I remembered the winter she caught pneumonia. Daniel and Olivia had been in Aspen. They said they could not get an earlier flight home. I stayed 3 nights in the hospital with Sophia, sleeping upright in a vinyl chair while cartoons flickered on the television at 3 in the morning. "Don't leave me, Grandma Vivi," she whispered through feverish tears. "I won't," I promised. I kept that promise. For years, I kept it. People often remember the love they were denied. They do not always remember the love they received. I looked down at Richard's ring in my hand. The gold was scratched from decades of ordinary life. Yard work, dishes, home repairs, holding my hand in hospital waiting rooms. He used to twist it absently while reading the newspaper on Sunday mornings. I wondered what he would say if he could see me now. Probably nothing in public.
Richard was calm that way.
But later, when we were alone, he would have looked at me with those steady blue eyes and said, "Viv, You deserve better than this. My throat tightened. Not because of Daniel's joke anymore. That pain had already gone somewhere deeper. What hurt now was realizing how long this had been happening. The wedding was not the beginning. It was only the first time they stopped hiding it. Vivian? I looked up. Martin Hale stood beside my table in a charcoal gray suit, holding a glass of sparkling water. Richard's attorney. His oldest friend. The man who stood beside me at the funeral when Daniel was too busy answering calls in the hallway. His eyes moved from me to the empty chairs, then toward Daniel and Olivia laughing near the bar. Something changed in his expression. May I sit? He asked. Of course. He pulled out the chair beside me and sat down carefully. For a while, neither of us spoke. There are some silences that feel awkward. This one felt merciful. Martin glanced toward the card beside my plate. His jaw tightened. I saw the seating card at the entrance, he said quietly. I was hoping it was some kind of misunderstanding. I let out a breath that almost became a laugh. Apparently, it was part of the theme. Martin looked at me then. Really looked. Not at the dress or the pearls or the careful posture. He saw underneath it. The exhaustion. The restraint. The old bruises nobody could photograph. Richard worried something like this might happen one day, he said. My fingers closed around the wedding band. What do you mean? Martin lowered his voice. About 3 years before he passed, Richard updated the family trust. I stared at him. Richard had handled money carefully. He had always been practical, almost private about legal matters. During his illness, he avoided discussing paperwork with me because he said he wanted our remaining time to feel like marriage, not administration. Martin continued. He added a protection clause specifically for you. The room seemed to slow. A tray clinked behind me. Someone laughed too loudly near the bar. The orchestra shifted into another song. What kind of protection clause? I asked. Martin folded his hands. If any direct family member intentionally humiliates, manipulates, or financially exploits you, they forfeit inheritance rights under the trust. I thought I had misheard. Forfeit. Completely, he said. Properties. Investment accounts. Future distributions. Everything tied to Richard's estate. I looked across the room at Daniel. My son. The little boy who once cried for an entire afternoon when our golden retriever died. The boy who used to fall asleep against Richard's chest during thunderstorms. He was laughing now, relaxed beneath the warm lights. Richard believed family money should never reward cruelty, Martin said. Especially cruelty toward you. I looked down at the ring. Why didn't he tell me? Martin's face softened. Because he hoped he was wrong. Those words hurt more than I expected. Not because Richard had hidden something from me. Because he had seen what I refused to see. There is more, Martin said. The clause can be activated immediately if you choose. Tonight? Tonight. The word rested between us like a closed door. Across the ballroom, Olivia was directing photographs beneath the floral arch. Daniel stood beside her. Sophia and her husband smiled under the orchids. Cousins moved into place. Olivia's sister joined them. Nobody looked toward table 17. Nobody came for me. Martin followed my gaze. You do not have to keep tolerating this, he said. I slipped Richard's ring back onto my finger. Not yet, I said. Martin studied my face, then nodded. Across the room, Olivia glanced at me again. This time, when our eyes met, I did not look away. The photographer kept calling names. Bride and groom with parents.
Flash.
Bride and groom with immediate family.
Flash.
Bride and groom with college friends.
Flash.
I sat at table 17 watching the whole thing unfold while candle wax gathered slowly at the base of the centerpiece beside me. At first, I told myself they would come get me soon. Weddings are busy. People forget things. Timelines get messy. Brides get overwhelmed. That was what I told myself during the first 15 minutes. Then 20 passed. Then 30. Still no one looked my way. A young server stopped to refill my water. Are you waiting for photos too? She asked kindly. Such a small question.
Such a painful one.
I suppose I was, I said. She gave me an awkward smile and moved on. Across the ballroom, Olivia adjusted Sophia's veil for the camera. Daniel placed one hand in his pocket and laughed between poses. They looked like a perfect American family. Successful, stylish, effortless. If someone walked into that room, they would never guess the bride's grandmother was sitting near the kitchen doors, holding her late husband's ring like a secret. Sophia leaned her head against Olivia's shoulder. The photographer snapped another picture. Olivia looked emotional, maternal. I remembered Sophia at 12, crying in my passenger seat because Olivia had forgotten to pick her up from dance class again. I remembered buying her first homecoming dress because Daniel said they were watching expenses. I remembered mailing care packages to her college dorm with wool socks, homemade cookies, and little notes that said, "Eat something real today." The strange thing about being a grandmother is that you love without paperwork.
No receipts. No witnesses.
No official record of all the times you showed up. Then came the sentence that finally cracked something open inside me. The photographer raised his camera. Perfect. Now, let's do one with the whole family. Whole family. People gathered quickly beneath the orchids. Daniel, Olivia, Sophia, her husband, cousins, Olivia's sister, even two family friends who had spent enough holidays at Daniel's house to become convenient relatives. The photographer scanned the room. "Is that everyone?" Olivia answered before anyone else could.
Yes.
"That's everyone important." She said it smoothly,
Casually.
as if she were discussing table linens. A few people smiled without listening. Daniel did not correct her.
He did not even look toward me.
The camera flashed 3 times. I sat still with both hands folded in my lap. Nobody noticed. Or maybe they did. Sometimes silence is not ignorance. Sometimes it is agreement. Martin had stepped out to take a phone call near the lobby. I was alone with the music, the clinking glasses, and the untouched slice of wedding cake on my plate. Vanilla buttercream. Sophia's favorite since childhood. Olivia had insisted on a celebrity baker from New York City. $5,000 for cake alone. I knew because I had written the check. I reached into my purse and took out my phone. The family group chat was already filling with wedding updates. Photos. Hearts. Congratulations. Someone had posted the family portrait beneath the orchids. Olivia added a caption. Celebrating with the people who matter most. I read it twice. Then I locked my phone. Somewhere inside me, the last excuse I had been making for them quietly disappeared. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just gone. A woman can survive many things when she still believes there was confusion behind the cruelty. Stress. Miscommunication. Bad timing. A joke taken the wrong way. But there is a particular kind of pain that comes when the truth becomes clean. They knew. They had always known. They simply believed I would keep loving them through it. And until that night, they were right. The ballroom darkened slightly as the wedding planner stepped onto the stage. Conversations softened. Chairs shifted. Waiters moved quietly between tables, collecting dinner plates and replacing them with crystal dessert dishes. The chandeliers glowed overhead like suspended constellations. Everything looked warm. Everything felt cold. I remained seated at table 17. The family photograph Olivia posted earlier stayed hidden behind the locked screen of my phone. I had no desire to see it again. The image was already burned into my memory. Everyone important. The words lingered like a bruise. Near the stage, someone tested a microphone. A burst of static crackled through the speakers before disappearing. "Ladies and gentlemen," the wedding planner announced brightly, "we'll now begin the family toasts." Polite applause filled the room. Olivia stood first. Of course she did. She moved toward the microphone with practiced confidence, her silver gown catching the light as she crossed the dance floor. Daniel watched proudly from his seat. Sophia dabbed carefully beneath her eyes to protect her makeup. Everything looked rehearsed, as if they had all practiced happiness long before arriving. Martin returned quietly and sat beside me. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. Olivia adjusted the microphone and smiled warmly at the crowd. "Tonight is about family." The room responded with approving nods. Family is built on love, sacrifice, support, and the people who help shape our lives. I almost admired her confidence. Almost. She continued speaking for several minutes. About blessings. about gratitude, about family bonds, about generosity. At one point, she even pressed her hand dramatically against her chest while discussing the strength of unconditional love. Several guests looked emotional. A woman near the front dabbed at her eyes. Daniel squeezed Olivia's shoulder proudly. I stared at the condensation sliding down my water glass. A strange calm had settled over me. Not peace. Not forgiveness.
Clarity.
There is a difference. The more Olivia spoke, the more I realized something painful. The family she described no longer existed. Maybe it never had. Perhaps it only existed in photographs, in holiday cards, in speeches, in stories people told themselves because the truth was less comfortable. Eventually, Olivia stepped away from the microphone. Applause followed. Then Sophia rose. For a moment, seeing her stand there hurt more than anything Daniel or Olivia had done. Because I still loved her. Because some part of me still saw the little girl who used to fall asleep in my guest room during thunderstorms. Sophia smiled nervously. The room quieted. I wouldn't be standing here tonight without my parents. The audience smiled. They gave me everything. Applause erupted immediately.
Loud.
Enthusiastic. Unquestioning. I sat perfectly still.
Something
cold settled deeper inside my chest. Not anger. Acceptance. 2 years earlier, Sophia called me crying because she couldn't afford her final semester tuition payment. Daniel had invested money into another business venture. The timing was bad. The bills were due. I remember driving through freezing rain the next morning after withdrawing $12,000 from my retirement account. I handed her a cashier's check in a coffee shop parking lot.
She cried.
She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. I'll never forget this, Grandma Vivi. That was what she said. I'll never forget. Funny how memory works. People often remember who disappointed them. They rarely remember who rescued them. The speech continued. Guests applauded again. The band prepared for another song. Life moved forward. Then I heard something. Not from the stage. Not from the guests. From only a few feet away. Olivia stood beside the wedding planner near my table. She lowered her voice. But not enough. Please make sure Vivian doesn't get the microphone later. The planner nodded politely. Olivia smiled. She tends to get emotional and ramble. For a moment, I simply stared at my folded hands. Emotional and ramble. That was how she described me. Not grandmother. Not family. Not the woman who financed the evening. Just an inconvenience to manage. Martin heard it too. I knew, because I felt him stiffen beside me. You don't deserve this, he said quietly. I looked toward the stage. Toward Daniel. Toward Olivia. Toward the family portrait still glowing on phones throughout the ballroom. No, I said calmly. I suppose I don't. The words surprised even me. For years I had accepted little humiliations because confronting them felt selfish. Too sensitive. Too dramatic. Too difficult. But something was changing. The excuses were running out. And once excuses disappear, the truth becomes impossible to avoid. Martin leaned slightly closer. If you decide to proceed tonight, I have everything prepared. I looked at him, then toward Richard's wedding band resting against my finger, then back toward the stage. For the first time all evening, I smiled. Not sadly, not politely,
Differently.
the kind of smile that appears when a woman finally stops negotiating with reality. The ballroom restroom was almost silent. The noise of the reception faded into distant echoes behind thick walls. Soft jazz drifted faintly through the ceiling speakers. Warm light reflected against polished marble countertops. I stood alone at one of the mirrors. For several moments, I simply looked at myself. My makeup still looked neat. My silver hair remained pinned carefully in place. From the outside, I looked exactly like the woman who arrived earlier carrying wrapped gifts and hopeful expectations. But I wasn't her anymore. Something had shifted.
Quietly. Permanently.
I turned on the faucet and let cold water run across my fingertips. The sensation grounded me. For most of my life, I confused endurance with love. I tolerated forgotten birthdays, canceled dinners, unreturned phone calls, holiday exclusions, because I believed family required patience.
Richard used to argue with me about that.
Not often, but enough. You keep forgiving people until they stop feeling guilty. I remembered him saying that one Thanksgiving while we washed dishes together. I laughed at the time. Told him he worried too much. Told him Daniel was under pressure. Told him Olivia didn't mean things the way they sounded. Looking back, I realized Richard eventually stopped trying to convince me. Maybe because he understood something I didn't. Some people become comfortable taking from the person who always forgives them. I opened my purse. A folded receipt sat inside. The final venue payment. $48,600. Paid in full. 3 weeks earlier. I stared at the number. That money represented decades of work. Vacations Richard and I postponed. Retirement plans delayed. Dreams adjusted. The small lake cabin in Maine he used to talk about every autumn. Instead, I had spent it on imported orchids and luxury linens. On a wedding where I wasn't considered important enough for the family photograph. Strangely, the realization no longer made me want to cry. Earlier, I felt wounded. Now I felt awake. The restroom door opened. 2 women entered laughing softly. They stopped when they saw me. Recognition crossed their faces. "You're Sophia's grandmother, right?" I nodded. One woman smiled awkwardly. "Your dress is beautiful." "Thank you." They moved toward the mirrors. Their voices lowered. "Not enough." I heard she paid for most of the wedding. The other woman nodded. "Almost all of it." I looked at my reflection again. Paid for most of the wedding. Not grandmother. Not family. Just the financial contribution. For years, I feared becoming invisible. The truth was worse. I wasn't invisible. I was visible only when money was involved. I dried my hands carefully. Then I noticed something unexpected. I no longer looked heartbroken. Tired. Certainly. Older. Without question. But not broken. Richard used to tell me my eyes changed whenever I stopped pretending. "You get quiet," he said once. "That's how I know you've made up your mind." Outside the restroom, applause erupted again. Another toast. Another performance. Another celebration of family. I slipped the folded receipt back into my purse, straightened my shoulders, and opened the door. Martin was waiting in the hallway, as though he already knew I would come out different than I went in. He studied my face, just for a second, then asked softly, "Are you ready?" I looked toward the ballroom doors, toward the laughter, toward the family that had spent years teaching me exactly where I stood. Then I nodded. Yes. My voice sounded steady.
Calm. Certain.
I believe I finally am. When Martin and I returned to the ballroom, guests were settling back into their seats. The band had finished another jazz number. Waiters moved quietly between tables collecting dessert plates. The room glowed with expensive warmth. The illusion of happiness carefully arranged under crystal chandeliers. Olivia noticed me immediately. For a brief moment, uncertainty crossed her face. Then her smile returned.
Perfect. Polished.
Artificial. "There she is," she called brightly. Several nearby guests turned toward me. "Vivian, are you feeling better?" Better. As if I had stepped away because of emotions. As if the problem was my reaction instead of their behavior. I smiled politely. Much better. Martin remained beside me.
I
Noticed him place a slim leather folder onto the chair near his table. Then Daniel stood, champagne glass in hand. He tapped it lightly with a spoon. The room quieted. "All right, everybody." Guests smiled. One final toast before the dancing starts again. Applause followed. Sophia leaned against her husband's shoulder. Photographers repositioned themselves around the dance floor. Daniel cleared his throat. "Tonight has been incredible." More nods. Honestly, none of this would have been possible without family support. People smiled approvingly. Then Daniel lifted his glass slightly toward my table, especially people willing to help financially. Scattered laughter. Olivia laughed too. Daniel continued, talking about blessings, success,
family. Support.
Every sentence sounded polished, safe, empty. Then he smiled. The same smile he wore earlier. The one that always appeared right before something cruel was disguised as humor. So, let's raise a glass to my mother. The room turned toward me, the real sponsor of tonight's entertainment. Laughter spread through the ballroom. Not loud, not vicious, just enough. Enough to humiliate. Enough to remind me where they believed I belonged. A sponsor, an account, a transaction. Nothing more. I looked around the room. Some guests appeared uncomfortable. Others stared into their drinks. A few smiled because pretending not to notice felt easier than confronting reality. Then I placed my napkin beside my untouched champagne glass and stood. The room quieted almost immediately. Daniel blinked.
Surprised.
Olivia's smile tightened. I walked toward the stage. My heels clicked softly against the marble floor. No one stopped me. No one spoke. By the time I reached the microphone, the ballroom had become completely silent. I adjusted the stand, looked across the room, and began. I remember when Daniel was 8 years old. My voice remained calm, steady. He came home from school crying because another little boy told him he was poor. Daniel's expression shifted. The room listened. Richard and I barely had enough money to keep the lights on back then. I paused. But I sat with my son at our kitchen table and told him something important. No one moved. No one spoke. I told him kindness mattered more than money. The silence deepened. I glanced toward Sophia, then toward Olivia, then back at Daniel. For many years, I believed helping family was an act of love. My fingers rested lightly on the microphone stand. I believed sacrifices were remembered. Another pause. I believed respect naturally followed generosity. The room felt frozen. Then I looked directly at Daniel. Then Olivia. And finally spoke the words I had carried all evening. Tonight taught me something different. No laughter now.
No smiles.
Only silence. I took a slow breath, then delivered the sentence that changed everything. Thank you for finally teaching me the difference between family and transaction. The ballroom went completely still. And for the first time all night, no one laughed. The room remained still, a heavy quiet settling over the chandeliers and golden candlelight. Martin rose from his chair and approached the stage slowly, deliberately, like a man accustomed to watching power unravel in courtrooms over decades. Daniel's smile faltered the moment he noticed him. The confident air that had carried him through the evening evaporated instantly. He stiffened, one hand pressed lightly against the back of his chair, as if he might need it to steady himself. Olivia noticed too, but she tried to keep her composure, fingers nervously smoothing the fabric of her silver gown. Daniel, Martin began, calm but firm, we need to discuss your family trust. Your father specifically instructed me to take action tonight if your mother was publicly humiliated or financially exploited. A ripple of discomfort passed through the room. Some guests whispered. Others froze mid-toast. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Not joy. Not triumph. Simply relief. Validation. Daniel's face grew pale. This is not the time. He tried to interject, but Martin raised a hand, stopping him without raising his voice. On the contrary, this is exactly the time. He opened the slim leather folder he had placed beside me and spread the documents across the podium. The parchment gleamed under the warm lighting. Effective. Immediately, Martin said evenly, all inheritance distributions connected to Daniel Carter and Olivia Carter are suspended pending formal review under the exploitation clause. The room went silent. Not shocked laughter. Not awkward coughs. Silence that demanded attention. Sophia's face changed. The blush of youthful excitement drained from her cheeks. She looked at her parents with uncertainty. Guests shifted in their seats uncomfortably, whispering behind polite smiles. What? Daniel finally said, his voice shaky. Olivia stepped forward, trying to mask panic with indignation. This is ridiculous. You cannot do this over a misunderstanding. Martin did not flinch. This is not a misunderstanding, he said. This is enforcement of your father's wishes. Your mother, Vivian Carter, has been wronged by actions that fall squarely under the trust clause. I remained standing beside my chair, feeling a quiet sense of calm. The power that had eluded me all evening was returning slowly, silently. Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he glanced at Olivia. Her composure had cracked, her polished smile replaced by tight lips and darting eyes. For the first time all evening, the illusion of the perfect family began to fall apart. The Charleston condominium transfer scheduled for next month is frozen, Martin continued. The investment portfolio intended for future family distributions is frozen as well. Reimbursement requests tied to tonight's wedding expenses will no longer be honored by the trust. Gasps rippled quietly across the room. Some guests looked between Daniel and Olivia in disbelief. Others whispered to each other, astonished at the sudden change. Sophia's eyes widened. Her lips parted slightly, unsure whether to intervene or remain silent. She had always trusted the adults around her to handle things fairly, but tonight she realized she had been observing a facade all her life. Daniel turned to me. "Mom, this is too much. Can we talk privately?" His voice, once so commanding, now sounded small, fragile. I studied him quietly. The little boy who had cried when our golden retriever died. The young man who had once clung to Richard after thunderstorms.
Now he
was grown, but the lessons of respect and gratitude he should have learned from me had been replaced by entitlement. "No, Daniel," I said softly but firmly. "You had all evening to speak to me respectfully. You failed. You cannot take back years of indifference with a toast and a smile." Olivia tried again, this time stepping closer. "Vivian, emotions are running high. This is not fair. This isn't the time." "I understood perfectly," I interrupted. The word carried calm authority, not anger, not hurt, simply truth. Some guests shifted in their seats. Some realized they had been complicit in silence. Others looked away, uncomfortable. Sophia approached me slowly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Grandma Vivi," she whispered, "I never wanted you to feel unimportant." Her words, sincere as they were, did not erase the years of neglect or the invisible ledger of sacrifices. "I know," I said softly, touching her cheek gently, the same way I had when she was a little girl. "That is what makes this sad instead of shocking." She began crying quietly, silently. Olivia's frustration mounted beside her, her own panic growing. The realization of accountability was settling over the family. I took a deep breath and began to gather my coat. The imported flowers, the golden candlelight, the half-empty champagne flutes, all symbols of generosity taken for granted, now felt like silent witnesses to the evening's truths. Outside the tall ballroom windows, Charleston's streets gleamed with the first light rain, blurring the city lights against the glass. I stepped carefully, deliberately, into the hallway. Martin followed, silent as ever, his presence a steady anchor. No one tried to stop me. No one offered apologies. No one laughed anymore. The energy had shifted. Daniel's voice called after me, smaller now. "Mom, please." I did not respond. My dignity was no longer negotiable. The years of silent sacrifice, the invisible labor, the quiet generosity, the nights spent supporting family when no one asked, all of it had led to this moment. Even if the family could not see it, I did. Even if they had never acknowledged it, I had. I stopped for a moment in the hallway, glanced back. At the glowing doors of the reception, the expensive room,
the guests,
the laughter, the applause, everything I had paid for, everything they believed they owned. I let the rain fall lightly across my shoulders, cleansing the weight of the evening. And I walked forward, finally untouchable in the one thing no one could take away, my dignity. I did not sleep much that night. Rain tapped softly against the windows of my townhouse, while Charleston slowly disappeared beneath darkness. The navy dress hung over a chair in my bedroom. My shoes sat neatly by the door. Richard's wedding band rested on the nightstand beside a framed photograph taken 20 years earlier. It showed the three of us at Folly Beach. Daniel stood between Richard and me, sunburned and smiling. Back then, he still reached for my hand when crossing busy streets. Back then, I still believed love naturally created loyalty. I sat at the kitchen table before sunrise with a cup of coffee growing cold between my hands. The house was quiet. Peacefully quiet. Not the painful silence of being excluded. Not the hollow silence of waiting for a phone call that never comes. Just quiet. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to anticipate someone else's needs. My phone remained face down on the table. I already knew what would be waiting. Excuses.
Panic.
Damage control. Not remorse. People often confuse consequences with remorse. They are not the same thing. At 7:30, the phone finally rang. Daniel. I let it ring. Then again. And again. By 9 o'clock, there were 11 missed calls. 3 voicemails. 7 text messages. The first few sounded urgent. The later ones sounded desperate. Mom, please call me.
We need to talk.
This got blown out of proportion. Martin misunderstood. Mom, please. The strange thing was that none of them asked how I was feeling. None of them mentioned the seating card, the family photographs, the sponsored jokes, the humiliation. Only the trust. Only the consequences. Only what they stood to lose. Around noon, Martin arrived carrying another leather folder. He set it carefully on my dining room table before removing his glasses. You were right not to answer. I nodded.
I
wasn't ready. Martin opened the folder. There are several things you need to know. For the next hour, we reviewed documents Richard had quietly prepared years earlier. The protection clause was stronger than I realized. Far stronger. Richard hadn't created it during anger. He created it during concern. That realization hurt more than anything, because it meant he had seen warning signs while I was still making excuses. He loved you, Martin said gently. I know. He worried about what would happen after he was gone. I looked toward the window. He was right to worry. Martin remained silent. Sometimes kindness is knowing when not to fill a silence. Before leaving, he handed me one final envelope. Richard asked me to give you this only if the clause was ever activated. My throat tightened. After Martin left, I opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter. The handwriting was unmistakably Richard's.
Steady.
Confident.
Familiar.
My dearest Viv, if you're reading this, then something happened that I prayed never would. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this letter is unnecessary. But if it isn't, I need you to remember something. Your value has never been measured by what you give people. Not your money. Not your sacrifices. Not your patience. Not your forgiveness. You spent your life taking care of everyone else. Please take care of yourself now. And if someone forces you to choose between peace and being loved conditionally, choose peace. Always choose peace. Love. Richard I cried then. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. For the first time since the wedding. Not because of Daniel. Not because of Olivia. Because I miss my husband. 3 days later, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Sophia stood on the porch. Alone.
No Olivia.
No Daniel. No audience. Just Sophia. She looked exhausted. The wedding glow had disappeared. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she started crying. Not the careful crying people perform in public. Real crying. The kind that comes from confusion. The kind that leaves people looking younger and older at the same time. Grandma Vivi. I stepped aside.
Come in.
We sat in the kitchen where she used to eat chocolate chip cookies after school. Nothing had changed. Same table. Same curtains. Same cookie jar. The familiar room seemed to affect her immediately. She looked around quietly, like someone remembering pieces of herself. I didn't know. The words came out broken. I know.
No, grandma.
I really didn't. I listened. For once, I needed to hear the whole truth before deciding what to do with it. Sophia explained that Olivia managed almost everything. The guest list, the seating chart, the photography schedule, the social media posts, the speeches, the planning, the narrative, everything. At first, I wanted to believe Olivia had manipulated everyone. But life is rarely that simple. Olivia created the environment. Others chose whether to participate. Daniel participated. Sophia remained silent. Neither of those things were accidents. I should have noticed. Her voice cracked. I should have asked where you were during the photos. I nodded slowly. Yes. The honesty surprised her. But she deserved honesty. Not comfort. Not punishment.
Truth.
She lowered her eyes. I kept thinking someone else would handle it. That's how most people abandon someone, I said softly. They assume someone else will care. The kitchen became quiet again. Eventually, Sophia looked up. Are you going to forgive us?
Us. Not them. Us.
The word mattered. I thought carefully before answering. I already forgave many things long before the wedding. She looked confused. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust. The distinction seemed to settle heavily between us. I love you, Sophia. Fresh tears appeared. But loving someone doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. The same hand she used to hold crossing parking lots. The same hand she once squeezed in hospital rooms. I'm sorry. This time, I believed her. Not because the words were perfect, because they cost her something to say. There are apologies people make to avoid consequences. And apologies people make because they finally understand the pain they caused. This one felt different. When she left later that afternoon, nothing was fixed. But something had changed. The cycle had finally broken. And sometimes that is enough for a beginning. 6 months passed. Life became quieter, smaller, healthier. The trust review became permanent. Certain distributions remained suspended. Some relationships remained damaged. A few never recovered. Daniel continued calling. Less frequently than before. More honestly than before. The panic eventually faded. Reality remained. Olivia never apologized. Not genuinely. She sent carefully worded messages, explanations, clarifications, attempts to reframe events. I stopped responding. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. Some conversations only reopen wounds. Sophia visited often.
Not because she wanted something.
Because she wanted me. That difference mattered. On Sunday afternoons, we sat together on the porch drinking iced tea while the South Carolina heat settled over the neighborhood. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we didn't. The silence no longer felt uncomfortable. One evening she asked me a question. When did you stop being angry? I thought about it. The moment I stopped trying to convince people to value me. She frowned. I smiled. When your worth depends on someone else's approval, you're always negotiating. And now I know who I am. The answer seemed almost too simple, but it was true. The wedding became a family story. Not the story Daniel wanted. Not the story Olivia planned. A different one. The story of a woman who finally listened when people showed her who they were. The story of a husband who protected his wife, even after death. The story of a grandmother who learned that dignity and access are not the same thing. One autumn afternoon, I visited Richard's grave. The cemetery was quiet. A soft breeze moved through the trees. I sat on a nearby bench holding a small bouquet of white roses. For a while, I simply talked to him. About Sophia. About Martin. About everything that happened. Then I laughed softly. You were right. The wind stirred fallen leaves across the grass. I looked down at the wedding band on my finger. The same ring I held beneath the ballroom table while my family laughed. The same ring that reminded me who I was when I almost forgot. People often think stories like mine are about money. They're not. Money only reveals things. Character is the real inheritance.
Respect.
Loyalty. Gratitude. Kindness. Those are the things families either preserve or lose. As the sun began to set, I stood and brushed the leaves from my coat. The pain never disappeared completely. Some wounds don't. But the humiliation was gone. The loneliness was different now. Lighter.
Honest.
And in its place was something stronger.
Peace.
I touched Richard's headstone one last time, then turned toward the path leading out of the cemetery. Years earlier, I might have looked back hoping someone would follow me, hoping someone would finally choose me. Not anymore. Because the most important thing I learned from that wedding was surprisingly simple. The people who truly love you never make you earn your place at the table. And if they do, you are allowed to stand up, walk away, and keep your dignity. Even if you leave alone. Especially if you leave alone.